This video will talk about learning curves and how to take learning curves into account when we're doing cost estimation. All right, so the idea behind a learning curve, and you've all experienced this, is when you first learn to do something, it takes a while to do it. And then as you get better and better at it, you figure out more what you're doing. It takes you less and less time. So what we've got is an exponential curve. Obviously, it will never take you no time to do anything, but you get better and better. So, in our estimation, we're going to use fairly simple estimation that every time we double the output, we will have a decrease in the average rate of doing something by a given percentage. It could be 90 we could have a 90% learning curve, in which case we're talking about it decreases by 10%. We could have an 80%, in which case we talk about it decreases by 20%. Like, so let's look at about three problems here and we'll go from there. So number 851 in your book, the Air Force Museum Foundation has commissioned the purchase of 16 F-6s pre-World War II aircraft. They will be built completely from scratch to specification manufacturing practices available when the originals were built. Each of the 16 airplanes will be flown to Air Force and aviation museums throughout the country for exhibition. Aviation enthusiasts can also visit the production facility to see exactly how such aircraft were built in 1938. Soren Industries wants to bid on the aircraft contract and has asked for and received certain cost information about the four F-6s from the Air Force. The information includes some of the old cost data from the builders of the original aircraft. The available information is for the total accumulated time as of the first 8 and 32nd aircrafts, respectively, were completed. The data reflect a learning rate of 90%. And we see in the problem that the first aircraft took them 250 hours. The cumulative number for 8 aircraft was 1458. So that's an average of 182 hours each. So question 1 says, if Soren Industries expects the manufacturing time and learning rate will be the same as it was in 1938, how many hours will it take to build the 16 aircraft, not F-16, build the 16 aircraft for the Air Force Museum Foundation? Assume also that the learning curve took place in the 1930s is no longer applicable and the learning begins anew at 250 hours for the first unit. So we've got to relearn everything. We have no learning having taken place. Okay, so what you do, this is just a mechanical plug and play. You take the 1 and it's going to be 250. That is given to you, right? And then you take 2, then you double that to 4, then you double that to 8, and then you double that to 16. Okay, so so each one of those. All right, so what we do on this 250 is we take 2 times 250. So if there was no learning taking place, it would take us 500 hours to build 2 aircraft, right? The cumulative total number of hours. However, there's a 90% learning rate. So we're going to take 90% of that, so 0.9 times, and we get 450. That's the total hours to build 2 aircraft, which gives us an average of 225 hours each. Okay. So now we take this 225 hours and we double that again So we have 450 hours if we didn't have anything to I'm sorry, 225. That'll be times 4. Will be 900 hours to build 4 aircraft, right? But we get a 90% learning curve. So we get 810 total hours to build 4 aircraft. Divide that by 4, we get 202 hours and a half each to build 4 aircraft. Then we do that again. We double that, or we're going to take the 202 times 8, and we get 1620 if no more learning were taking place, but we still get that 9 learning curve, so we get 1458, which happens to be exactly the number in your book given for 8. So we know we're on track here now, right? But then we divide that by 8, and we get 182 and a quarter. Okay. Now we multiply that times 16, 2,916 if no more learning took place, but we're still getting some learning. So it will be 2,624.4. And if we divide that by 16, whoops, I multiplied that. We get 164 hours, 0.025, 164 hours each on that. So now, how many hours will it take to build 16 aircraft? It'll take that many total hours in order to build 16 aircraft. So that's problem 8-51. Okay, let's go on to 852. We've got Hat Tricks Company. HTC is a Buffalo, New York manufacturer of hats and gloves. Recently, the company purchased a new machine to aid in producing hat product lines. Production efficiency of the new machine increases with workforce experience. It has been shown as cumulative output of the new machine increases, average labor time per unit decreases up to the production of at least 3,200 units. As HTC's cumulative output doubles from a base of 100 units produced to the cumulative average labor time declines by a learning curve of 80%. These hats can be produced in a total of 40 labor hours. All other direct labor costs to produce each hat are $12 per hat, excluding direct labor costs. Labor costs per hour is $25 an hour. Fixed costs are $8,000 per month, and HTC has the capacity to build 3,200 units per month. All right. So HTC plans to set the selling price of the new men's hats at 200% of direct production cost. If the company is planning to sell 100 hats, what is the selling price? If the plan is to sell 800 hats, what should be the selling price on that? Okay. So we're going to do learning curve again, except it'll be in units of 100, 200, 400, and 800. So that's where we'll be at 100 and 800 on that. we are told that the learning curve is 80%, right? And that it takes 40 hours. The 100 of these hats can be produced for 40 hours. So we're going to have a total of 40 for 100. For 200, we will have 40 times 2, right? That'll be 80 hours, but we get a learning curve of 80%. So that would be 64 total hours for 200. We're going to double that again, and that will, but we get 80% is 102.4 hours. And then we'll double that again and take the 80%. And so we'll get 163 total hours for that. So in this column, we know that we only need the 100 and the 800. We know that the direct labor cost is $25 per hour. So 40 enter 25. We'll get 1,000 hours here. That's just 40 times 25 and 163. Oops. Is going to be 4075. Okay, so that's our direct labor costs. Fixed costs are 8,000 per month. And they has there was one other cost here. Oh, all other costs to produce hats are $12 per hat, except for direct labor costs. So 100 times 12 is 1,200 here, and 812 is 9,600 here. So now we just add these three numbers up. So here's our labor cost plus our fixed cost plus our other direct cost. So we get 20, whoops, said it right, wrote it wrong. 21,675 is the total cost for 800 hats. $10,200 is the total cost for 100 hats. So if we divide that by 100, we get 102. Let's see, what was it? Oh, direct production cost. So we don't have this 8,000. I'm sorry about that. So we've got 1,000, 2,200, 100 divide gives us $22 per hat. 2,200 divided by 100 equals 22. So we would sell it times 2 is 44 would be the price if we make 100 hats. Take this one out, we get 13,675. Divide that by 800. Would be $17.12 per hat. And so multiply that by 2, we'd get 34.24 on that. All right.